how to win logically in a situation. For example, for failure, for rejections, or for not achieving expectations for something, when the brain is occupied emotionally. Yeah, what do you do in a situation where you experience a setback in life, right? What do you do when things don't go wrong? How do you succeed from that position? And especially when you are feeling emotionally down, when something goes wrong, emotionally it's gonna affect you very badly. So what do you do about this, right? And how do you win from there? So you have to, okay, it's easy to say be mentally strong, be this, be that, all that fine, control our emotions. Emotional people usually fare poorly, etc. It's easy to say all that. It's cliched. But what's the way of getting out of of a situation logically? So if you have tools, logical tools that will enable you to find the right solution, then you will first resort to that instead of sitting down and crying and being emotional, right? The problem is most people don't have those tools, those logical tools, problem solving tools. So let me give you an example. Yeah. So let's say it's the 1930s. You are an Indian freedom fighter, revolutionary freedom fighter, genuine freedom fighter. No, not that fake ahimsa nonsense. You're an Indian revolutionary. And it's occupied India, right? British occupied India, 1930s. So you and your friends, you and your comrades, you break into a British occupation police station to steal guns and ammunition. Now your comrades, they take the guns, they break into the place, they take the guns, ammunition, etc. But you and another comrade are caught by the British, and they take you to jail, and they separate you. And this very wonderful, nice British jailer, he tells you and your comrade the same thing. He offers you both a deal, the same deal, but separately in separate rooms. So he says, you were caught on police station premises, you're trespassing. This carries a 1 year sentence. But I know you and your friends have stolen the guns, but I can't prove it. I don't have the evidence. I need your testimony. I need your confession. So you are facing a 1 year sentence, but if you confess, I will set you free, but your partner will get a 10-year sentence. And I'm offering your partner the same deal. If both of you confess, your individual testimony is no longer gonna hold, and both of you will get a 3 year sentence. So when you find yourself in this situation, you're gonna be terrified. You're gonna be fearful. You will be dejected, and you'll probably break down mentally that I'm facing a 10-year jail sentence, or I'm facing God knows what in the jail, 1 year, 3 years, or 10 years, right? So should you just break down emotionally, or should you resort to logic, right? So you have to first tell yourself that if you are in jail for 10 years, you can't serve the nation. So your priority has to be to minimize your jail time. And you are not sure about your partner. You don't know whether he is reliable, whether he will stay quiet, whether he will confess, whether he will break down under pressure, mental pressure. You don't know what's going to happen. So the question is, what strategy should you choose? What strategy should each prisoner choose? Okay. So let's actually try and calculate what strategy the prisoners must choose. Let's open an Excel sheet and let me tell you how to logically do this thing. Okay, how to logically find a solution in a bad situation. So let's open an Excel sheet. Here is a blank Excel sheet. Let's zoomify in there. Okay. So you essentially have two prisoners, right? You are a prisoner and your friend is a prisoner. So you are P1, let's say, and you have two choices. Okay, be quiet or confess. And your comrade, prisoner 2, also has two choices: be quiet or confess. So we're gonna put it all here. Okay, prisoner 2 also has quiet and confess. Now if you're quiet and your comrade is quiet, you both get a 1 year sentence. So I'm putting 1 for both. If you are quiet and prisoner 2 confesses, then you get a 10-year sentence and this guy gets nothing, is out. If you confess and the other guy stays quiet, you get 0 years, he gets 10 years. And if both of you confess, it's 3 years each. So what should you do is the question, right? So to answer this question, you have to essentially you have to consider each choice in isolation. So let's see things from P1's perspective, that is prisoner one's perspective. Let's assume that he knows that P2 will stay quiet. Okay, let's assume that he knows that P2 will stay quiet. And so let's not consider at all what happens to P2. You are only concerned with what happens to you. So instead of P2's 1, we'll put a question mark here, and over here also we will put a question mark. So we know that P2 will stay quiet. So if P1 stays quiet, he gets a 1 year sentence. If P1 confesses, he gets freedom, 0 years. So clearly, confession is a good strategy for P1 if P2 remains quiet. But what if P2 confesses? So let's look at that scenario. Okay, let's look at that scenario. We will take this and put it here. So now we know that So now P1 knows that P2 will confess. So P1, if he stays quiet, he's going to get 10 years. If he confesses, he's going to get only 3 years. And we'll put question marks here because we're not concerned about what happens to the other guy. This is just logic. So once again, confession is the better option. Here also, confession is the better option. So for prisoner 1, irrespective of what prisoner 2 does, confession is the better option. This is simply logic. Now let's look at things from P2's perspective. Okay, let's look at things from P2's perspective. So once again, let's copy this and put it here. And let's say that P2 knows that P1 will stay quiet. So in that case, what happens? So in that case, we'll put question marks here and here. So from P2's perspective, he knows P1 will stay quiet. So if P2 stays quiet, he will have 1 year. If P2 confesses, he will have 0 years in jail. So confession is the better option. And once again, let's see what happens if P1 confesses. So we'll once again put question marks here. And we'll once again put a question mark here. So if P1 confesses, then if P2 stays quiet, he gets 10 years. If he confesses, he gets 3 years. So it's clear that in both cases, even for P2, confession is the better option. And for P1 also, confession is the better option. So if we look here, confession is 3-3. Both guys get 3 years. And if you stay quiet, both guys take 1 year, get 1 year. So why is confession the better option? Clearly, quiet is better than confess. However, the problem is that from a logical perspective, a promise to remain silent is not sustainable. So the quiet option, both guys staying quiet, that option, that outcome is inherently unstable. And the option for both to confess is an inferior solution, but it is sustainable. So both prisoners, you and your comrade, need to confess, and that is the right solution. There is no morality here, there is no emotion here, it's just logic. So what I've just showed you is essentially the first lesson you will be taught in game theory. So if you want to know how to win logically in a situation where you have failed, you have to learn game theory. It's all logic, there's no emotions there. And you can learn game theory in 2 weeks if you study 2 hours a day. It's not that difficult. All you need is basic math. You can learn game theory in 2 weeks. Take a textbook, learn it. Once you have that tool in your arsenal, you will and you find yourself in a bad situation, your first response will not be to cry or to feel dejected. It will be to find a solution via game theory. So my point is, if you want to win logically in any situation of failure, learn game theory, learn logic, learn how to apply these learnings in real life situations. That's how you win logically in any situation. All right, it's all about logic and causality. Learn game theory, it's not that difficult.